210?
310.
Do we have?
When you're ready.
312, she keeps me straight, okay? Could we please have a roll call?
Sure. Cavell?
Here.
Cowell? Here. McGillivray?
Here.
Powell is absent with notice. She's attending an informational. Charles?
Present.
Long?
Here.
Moss?
Present.
Markham? Here. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Excellent. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. No, I mean. you can
No,
sit
it's okay.
down.
Actually, I could only sit for half hour. So.
Oh, okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hold that chair.
And
Please.
before we move on, I just want to acknowledge that this is the last, I think, regular scheduled Finance Committee meeting for Commissioner Moss and Commissioner Kowal, and I really appreciate all the work that you've done on this committee.
Thank you.
Really do. You made me smarter about the budget. I appreciate that. Okay, next up is approval of the previous minutes. Need a motion? Moved by Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner Cavell. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. Approval of the agenda. I need a motion. Commissioner McGillivray, supported by Commissioner Long. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Agenda is approved. Now we have our public comment. At this time, anyone from the public is welcome to come forward for 3 minutes to speak on anything on our agenda. Is there anyone from the public who cares to address us? Seeing no one, I'll call the first public comment closed, and we will move into communications. I need a motion to receive and file. Commissioner Kowal, supported by Commissioner Moss. And we need to prompt the vote, right? Yeah. I haven't seen it come out.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
You don't have me.
Pardon?
I didn't vote. I didn't get a thingy.
Oh.
So 7 yeas.
Okay, 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, thank you. I didn't call that.
All right, maybe we'll do it this time. Okay. So the communications have been received and filed. Next up, we have item 8, the departmental recommendations. Item 8A is Equalization Department, amend the fiscal year 2022 apportionment of local tax rates. And our presenter today is our Equalization Director, Mr. Lohmeyer. Welcome. I need a motion. Commissioner Cavell, supported by Commissioner Moss. Okay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm here to present the amended apportionment report. This is required after the recent election. As you'll see on the page prior to page 1, there were some a new millage for the Oakland County Transit, some reduced millage rates because of that, revised, a new transit millage, as well as a revised rate for Royal Oak Township and a new millage for Farmington schools. So because of these changes in millages, we had to amend this report. So I'm here to answer any questions you have. The report is essentially the same as the last one that was presented to you.
Okay, I'll open it up to the commission. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Lohmeyer? Seeing none, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Markham,
Yes.
Oh, yours isn't working today.
Charles?
She stepped out.
Did you get mine, Pam? Because I got another prompt,
I
okay.
did get yours.
Okay, thanks.
Madam
Just got
Chair,
another
we
prompt.
have
That happens all the time.
Yeah. Then it goes
6 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next, we have item 8B with the Purchasing Department, Oakland Schools for printing and graphic services. We have Scott Guzzi with us. Motion from Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner Kowal. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We would like to renew our interlocal agreement with Oakland Schools. This year, we went out to bid, and we qualified a list of printers to do various printing and graphics for the county. In Oakland Schools, we've dealt with them probably since 2005. And they qualified, and they do a great job. They do a lot for equalization. They do all their property taxes. They do the printing. They take the data, put it on the forms, and then we have a good relationship with our mailroom, and then we mail it out. Right now, they're saving probably about 10 cents for each mailing, the way we're doing it right now. But they've done some great work for us. They've done a lot of where somebody says they need, 500 copies of something, and they'll deliver it within an hour. And being that they're so close to us, it really helps. Any questions?
Commissioner Long.
Sorry, my voice is raspy, I don't know why. So we've had them doing the printing for a while, correct?
Correct.
And then is this less expensive, are we saving money outsourcing this?
Yes, what we have with our qualified list is a lot of our printing projects across the county. We go out to bid within that group. And then, so there is a cost, there's a time element that's both looked at. And also, we can also evaluate some quality if there's certain things that need to be met. Parks prints a lot of brochures, things like that.
Okay, but we have the capability of printing
Yes.
in-house too?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Seeing none, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next is the item 8C, Courts Case Management System Project Request for Proposal. Moved by Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner Cavell. Good afternoon, Mr.
Good
Kim.
afternoon. I almost said good morning.
It's hard to say afternoon, I'm fine.
It is. So I have 3 items on the agenda today, but this first one is relatively straightforward, just appropriation of funds from a general fund account for IT projects, $250,000 for us to do the next phase of the court's case management system. The court's case management system today runs on our mainframe. It's very, very old, and we previously set a RFP out. We're in the process of doing vendor evaluations as we speak. So this allocation of funds will get us through that next phase, which is vendor selection and, demos from the down-selected vendors, the proposals we've received, vendor selection, and then contract negotiation. At that point, we would then also bring forward the funding model and the project plan and all of that for the actual implementation, which is expected to be multi-year, multi-million dollars by the time we're all done with it. And for the courts, this system is similar to what we've done with Workday. This will be one of the biggest projects that we undertake over the course of the next few years. in terms of business transformation for the courts, how they manage their cases. It's the guts of how the courts operate. So it's a big change for them on the business process side as well as the technology. So if there's any questions, this is, again, just funding for the next phase.
Okay. Commissioner Long, followed by Commissioner McGilvery.
Sorry, I just have to make your meeting last to 5.
And
No, I'm just
Mrs.
kidding. I'm just kidding. Is it, how did you get up to the 250,000? Is that what we're spending, or could it be less?
It could absolutely be less. We go through an estimating process in IT. This is almost entirely IT effort hours.
Okay, and then it could be more though, maybe 2, or no?
We do build contingency into our schedules so that we don't have to come back and ask for more.
Okay,
Of course,
thank you.
it's IT.
That's why I'm asking how we come up with that 250.
All right, next we have Commissioner McGilvery.
Thank you. Tim, Mr. Tim, do you, is this paid for in any way through the state? Any of the total project I'm talking now?
So the interesting thing that's going on right now is there is some work going on at the state about a court case management system that would be used statewide, but that does not currently exist. It is something that we have to manage independently right now. So that is part of the overall evaluation. We will look at the availability of systems from the state, but at the moment, that's not available.
All right, but the cost, there is no cost recovery from the state for getting this system, is it?
Not for this at this time.
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Commissioner Cavell.
Thank you. I was actually going to ask the same question if SCAO was helping out with any of the costs, but since not, can you tell us a little bit more about the scope? You said it's going to be big like Workday, and I know we've heard from judges before in the courts talking about the importance of this. Can you give us kind of some highlights? Because we're going to be seeing more of this, it sounds like.
If it's all right, I might actually defer that question to Chris Bujak, who's the administrator for the courts. Is
Sure,
here
come on up to the
probably more appropriate to answer that
To a
question.
microphone.
Thank you.
So we can all hear you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Hi. I am Kevin Offner is our court administrator. I'm the manager of court business operations for circuit and probate. This case management system will be the bread and butter for the circuit court and for the county clerk's office legal division. This application will handle everything, we hope, right? We haven't selected a vendor yet, but we've been through the 3 responses and we're doing our evaluations. It will handle case filing, case reporting back to the state. It will handle hopefully assessment of costs. It will handle mailings, communication, have some reporting internally as well. It will help produce orders. And our old system is a mainframe system, which I'm sure is probably older than you are, sir. It's a pretty old system, and it really is difficult to maintain. We have many
He's 12.
many legislative changes have happened recently. There's a whole criminal justice reform that I'm sure you're all aware of. And part of helping us be in compliance with that would be this new case management system. One example is that we are going to have automated set-asides starting soon. With the automated set-asides, we are going to need to set aside cases at a charge level. That is something, and that's a legislative requirement, but we are unable to do that in our existing mainframe. Our mainframe can only set things aside at a case level, which means that a greater charge might have to be made non-public even though there is because of the lesser charge. So these types of issues we can't fix in that mainframe. It would make no sense to put millions of dollars into a system that old to comply with the new legislation. We are better to either, migrate to a different system, be it the state or the vendor. It just doesn't make sense to continue to help that mainframe along.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, thank you. Okay, go ahead and prompt the vote then, please.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next
Thank
up, we have item 8D, Mission Critical Partners LLC for consulting services. I need a motion. Commissioner McGilvery, supported by Commissioner Charles. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. I also brought with me, just wanted to introduce Jim Manning. He's been here before. He's part of the IT leadership team. He manages our Clemis division, the law enforcement and the system that we support law enforcement, across 10 counties in southeast Michigan. So, and this is germane because this particular consulting contract, it is an old contract. And as you can see through the summary that we put together, they have gone through a number of different acquisitions, as consulting companies often do, at least in the technology space. The reason we're bringing this forward for a 3-year extension is the criticality with where we are with both the radio project, which is about to go live next summer. At least we will start turning radios on live next summer. And the other part is the rebid of some of the 911 EZNet, the Emergency Service Information Network. That is also being rebid. These consultants specialize in radio and EZNet services, and this project, or this contract, was originally out for competitive bid. They have been instrumental in the development of our EZNet RFP several years ago, as well as the radio RFP. And we actually had some of the board members, I don't think any of you, but I know we had a commissioner from each party involved in the radio RFP when we did that a few years ago. And they bring expertise that, in the legislative arena, in the technology arena, in how trends are going across the country, and in fact, even worldwide trends in some of this technology, as well as business process around law enforcement, and then also in the case of the EZNet, some of the technology that's then legislation behind how 911 services are supposed to work. So they have been instrumental in our radio project. As I mentioned, the radio project is slated to go live. We will start deploying radios next summer. It will take us almost a year to deploy 6,000 radios. We're working very closely with the state, as well as several networking vendors to build that network infrastructure. But these consultants have been instrumental in helping manage that project for us, or at least manage some of the risk. So we're asking for that extension as we get through the radio project and then the RFP process for the EZNet upgrades. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Commissioner Charles?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Tim, thank you also for the presentation. I'm just curious because a lot of times with tech, there's a lot of moving pieces, there's a lot of overlap, some things are grandfathered, some things are new. Not to say this hasn't already been provided, but is there anywhere that a layperson could go and see like a pie chart or some type of visual aid in terms of these projects? Some of them are IS, some of them are IT, some of them are hardware, some of them are software. Is that something we have available to us at this time?
So at a high level, yes, it's actually in the master plan document, and it's in the summary that I bring every quarter to the Finance Committee that explains all of the projects that we're executing and where those dollars are spent and allocated and to which business departments those funds are being charged to or who's benefiting from the project. Yes. In the case of the radio project, obviously that's a county-wide system, but that project is also in that report, that master planning report. If there's something more specific, I'd be happy to provide that. But yes, that's actually available online on our on the public website, on the ITPMO portion of that website where that's published.
Thank you. And then just as a reminder, because we get lots and lots of reports, the radio system, are we talking walkie-talkies?
They're really fancy walkie-talkies. Each radio is a microcomputer. The radios are like $6,000 a piece. and we've got like 6,000 of them that we're deploying across the county for law enforcement, fire, EMS, and some actually go into hospitals and other areas of first responder support. In addition, there's a huge amount of infrastructure, the network basically that carries all of the radio communication. Radios work across the airwaves, but they hit an antenna and then it goes underground in a wire. And so the backup, the delivery of all of the communication through those wires and the switches and the radio stations where radio operators actually route calls and manage calls, that technology is also included in this project. It's being replaced countywide. 21 PSAPs, 31 radio towers. It's
Pretty aggressive.
Commissioner Moss, followed by Commissioner Cavell.
Thank you. I mean, I guess this is only appropriate here at my last meeting that we can have some a little bit of history here. This was back in my first term, which would have been 2001 or 2. And no, it wasn't 3. It was in 2001. It was no. It was after you, before you actually.
Let's not split
What
hairs.
happened was,
It was a long time ago.
whoever the heirs might be, is that the radio project began when there was a shooting in the Wixom plant, which has now been torn down, and there's, Carhartt and all that up in Novi. And one of the problems they had is that the plant was so big, the old Ford Wixom plant, is that the guys coming in on the north end couldn't talk to the guys coming in on the south end, and they had to actually call, like in the, like in the invasion of Grenada, where they actually had to use a payphone to call the battleship Iowa to give support, and which was in, of course, the Clint Eastwood movie. Bottom line is that the radio project was to be able to coordinate so that all the radios and all the systems and all the police departments could talk to each other. And that was the whole beginning of this entire thing. And having been present at the creation, one of the things they said at the outset was that this system would pay for itself, that it would be charging the locals, everybody would be kicking into it. It would not be something that only county or county taxpayers would be funding. So, it was like, Chris remembers that.
I'm guessing now, but I thought they said 8 years.
Yeah, something like 8 years. That would be Phil
Now we're
Bertolini.
20.
I don't know if anybody else was around here was here at that time.
Eileen.
So Eileen, that was before Eileen, actually, believe it or not. So
Even the same.
you were here.
We heard the same thing every year.
But the bottom line is, every year they said, thank you, ladies, is that it would be self-supporting fiscally, self-supporting. Now, here we are, and it's 2022. Where's the self-supporting? I think that is a legitimate question on funding, and do you have any plan, or is it simply a mission creep, and that was something that we used to start the program, Lord knows, 20 years ago, to make this program self-supporting, paid for by all the users,
So the radio project itself is a large portion of it is funded from the 911 surcharge that we all pay on our cell phone and landline telephone bills. That's the majority of where the revenue comes into what we call the radio fund, which is one of the budget funds that I bring into finance in the annual budget process. That fund was built up over the years, and that fund has funded this project, $60 million. That fund will be replenished over time, over the next 15 years, through that 911 surcharge until we replace the radios again 15 years from now.
You're expecting this generation to last 15 years?
Yes, we are.
Goodness. All right.
And the last system has been, I think we're on year 17 or 18 right now.
Yeah. But they're clearly antiquated.
Yes. And to your point, back to the Wixom story, one of the things that has improved is both the engineering as well as the technology. We have coverage maps, and the coverage of these new radios is designed to prevent those problems.
Well,
Inside of buildings, in basements, and different types of architecture, we have much, much better coverage now with the new system than we have with the current system.
Well, that was the whole point, was it?
Exactly.
What good is
Yep.
it if you can't talk to anybody outside the factory where the guys are shooting people, and you can't get talk from the north side to the south side? because remember, that was the original mission. Okay, 15 years, huh? Geez, that's like Christopher Lloyd in Back to the Future. Where we're going, we're not going to need radios. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moss.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cavell.
Yeah, forgive my ignorance, but if I understand right, the name has changed because of a merger.
2 or 3 times.
Yep. And they're asking for more money and a contract extension.
No, they are not. We are recommending it. I am
Right.
requesting it of the Finance Committee that we extend this contract with these consultants because of the critical role that they play on both our radio project, which is in mid-flight, the critical nature of that project, the huge investment that is for the county, and the 911 system that we will be putting part of that system out for RFP over the course of the next couple of years. They will help with all of the changing legal requirements. They're really the consultants that are the experts in that area.
Yeah, can you say that part again? Because I think I'm missing, I don't understand this, line of work very well. So, what are they doing to earn the $600,000? The tangible, if you don't, I'm not
Right.
following.
So legislation changes frequently
Yeah.
at the federal level and in some cases the state level on, for example, the 911 system, what that system has to do, how it has to operate. And an example of that is 911 systems now are required by law to designate the building location, the location in the building, not just the building that you are in. So our new telephone system can identify the cubicle that you sit in, and if you call 911 from that phone, that transcribes to a 911 operator who can send that to dispatch, who can provide an exact building location where that call occurred from. That's legislation, and the technology behind all of that is very, very complex. But these consultants keep an eye, keep a pulse with the lobbyists, with the legislators, with the changing legislation as to these are things that are coming, these are things we need to plan for, these are things that you have to do today. These are options that you have from a technology perspective to implement that. These are people that are at the top of the game. These are the vendors that you should talk to, those kinds of things. I mean, it's an expertise in a specific subject matter area.
Okay, so related though to lobbying and understanding changing rules or laws related to this technology project.
That this project has to comply with,
Okay.
right?
And-
Yeah, it's not a lobbying effort.
Sure.
It's really just making sure that we are on top of all of the things that are happening, and things change in the technology space, to Commissioner Moss's, question and point. Radio frequencies operate differently when they hit, a wire mesh, right? And when you're inside of a building that is reinforced concrete, radio frequencies don't always operate real well. So there are strategies in terms of various types of frequencies and different types of repeaters and things that you can do inside of a building. Again, that's the technology side. So these guys are on top of some of those changes as well from the major vendors, Harris and Motorola, who are the primary vendors of the technology. Those would be additional examples of things that they would help us build into the RFP.
Okay.
Because they're aware of some of this at a level of expertise that we just don't have those kinds of people on staff.
Okay, thank you, understood.
Commissioner Long.
All right, well, that sparked my memory when you said 911 surcharge. You were here. That's what it was. They were gonna get, because we had a bunch of public come in, and how we have public now. It's a big issue because that 911 surcharge went up. That was supposed to go away. That was supposed to pay for the radios and get off our bills. Because everyone was like, it's a tax,
Taxes never go away, right?
Right, but that was what I think they said, because that sparked my memory, and Eileen was here too, that the 911 surcharge was paying for all the radios, and that would fund itself within 8 or 10 years. Were you here back then? Yeah, see, that's what we were
Nope.
told, that's how we voted, okay, yes, because it was going to go away. But that's,
Well,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
the whole surcharge thing, I mean, that is still a topic in
Yeah.
Lansing.
Oh,
And I know Commissioner Kowal is aware of it. I mean, she and I have talked a little bit about it in the past. Whether or not we charge it to an individual's phone and whether or not it's a per phone tax or
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
what it was.
per usage
Cell-
tax.
cells weren't
And there's
charged.
issues now with, with quote burner phones. Do burner phones have to pay it? And it is a very, very complicated model. But the state absolutely has agreed. The Michigan Public MPSCS, Public Safety Commission or something like that, they have done a very good job of at least convincing the legislators that we need some funding model for this, right? And if a phone surcharge isn't the best model or isn't a
Right.
fair model, that's for legislators to decide. But this is how much it costs to operate a next generation 911 system, and this is why it's important that we do it.
I guess back then they didn't charge cell phones, that was the issue.
Right.
And so, now no one has a home line, so, but that was the issue, so, thank you, I just thought I'd bring a little history, that was a big deal, that 911 surcharge here.
Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, and this might be something you're not aware of either, but remember good old Shelley Taub and her issue with the phone companies being transparent about where the, I guess, everybody was paying the fee,
Well, we weren't
but
getting money
remember,
back
we
or
didn't know couldn't prove where it was coming from, so,
Yeah.
so maybe Oakland County wasn't getting the money that they should have been getting, but I think that they
AT&T,
passed some
wasn't
kind
it?
of law for more transparency, as well as the state actually raised the state surcharge here not too long ago. They were hesitant to do that, but they did, I believe, raise it.
Shelley never did like the phone company.
I think it was AT&T or something, I think.
No matter who they were.
Okay,
It was all
anybody
of them,
else
yeah,
have any
but
questions?
AT&T was-
Commissioner Charles?
Yeah, I just want to clarify because it looks like the item summary is the actual item that we're recommending for the full board. So I just want to make sure it's clear. That second paragraph, not to exceed number, it's missing a digit or missing something. It may have too many digits. I hope it has too many.
The five, yes, the true number is 596,339. There's an extra 5 in there, and it will be corrected before it comes to the board.
And then how does that relate? I keep seeing this 400,000 number in the
Yeah,
committee report.
the 3-year extension is the 430.
So how are those, help me understand, is it two separate numbers?
I'm trying to find the 500 number that you were referring to.
It's in the item summary. It says the contract not to exceed was increased from 276,339 to 596,339.
That's the current contract that we are operating under right now that expires at the end of the year. And this motion, this resolution is to add the 430,000 to that NTE for the next 3 years.
Okay. I'll probably chew on it.
And commissioners, this is
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Someone high.
This is Michael Keys from staff. I just wanted to reassure you that yes, on the item summary, there was that typo, but on the committee report to board, that was corrected. And as Commissioner Markham stated, we will make sure that on the full board, that typo is corrected.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, on the online version, Michael, am I correct? It looks like it's okay to me.
Yes, it has been corrected. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You done, Commissioner Charles? Okay, Commissioner Cavell?
Since we're being nitpicky, I don't see an MR or resolution. Is that because this is a transfer from one fund to the next and we're just approving the contract extension, not the dollar amount? Or is
That's
there
why
a
I was saying
resolution?
It was report to the board.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why there was no
Right.
MR.
Right, but the reason for that, instead of it being an MR, is.
And I can answer that as well, Commissioners. The departments do certainly send these over as detailed miscellaneous resolutions that the Commissioners are used to seeing, and we take that information and make sure that it's in the information and background on the item summary sheet. In the cases where we do see, and as Commissioner Cavell has pointed out, that they are simple transfers or simple requests, instead of having the board action be that lengthy 2-page miscellaneous resolution, we narrow that down to the committee report to board. And in the cases where it may be a more intricate motion that's needed by the commission, of course, we would still continue to have the resolution, as you saw even with a previous item on this agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Cool.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? All right, let's go ahead and prompt the vote. On item 8D.
Detail oriented, my bad.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries. Next, item 8E, Trillium Software Incorporated for Address Purging Services. Motion? Commissioner McGilvery, supported by Commissioner Moss.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. So Trillium Software is basically a piece of software that as we get address files and we get address data, and you have probably all seen this happen every once in a while when you're ordering something online. There'll be a little pop-up box that says, do you want to use this official USPS address, or do you want to use the address that you typed in? And they might look identical to you, but one of them might have the zip +4, one of them might use capital letters. So those details matter inside of an IT system, and they matter in a huge way to several pieces of county business. And one of those is when we dispatch officers to a location, that they need to know exactly where they're going. And we've probably all experienced, Google Maps isn't perfectly accurate, right? So this software does interface with Clemis Clear. Clear is one of our applications in Clemis, so that those records, correctly display the address where an event occurred. It interfaces with LAMS, which is our land address management system, which is heavily used as part of assessing and apportionment. Another system is PAWS, which is for the animal control area for licensing, and then also the state bar file includes a listing of all attorneys. So those are 4 major integrations that we have built around this Trillium software. And if we replace Trillium software, Trillium's not terribly special, in all honesty. It's not strategic like Laserfiche is strategic for us. However, it will cost us several $100,000 to change all of those critical interfaces to a new package. And this package is only on the order of $50,000 a year, and there's no payback for us to do that. So our recommendation is that we extend this contract. Over time, what will happen with all of these technologies is Trillium will upgrade. They will make their interfaces smarter. Our systems like Clear and PAWS and LAMS, those systems will be able to interface easier, and it will cost us less to do some of these integrations, to do some of these changes. But at the moment, our recommendation is to extend this contract with this vendor. It does everything we need. We have these integrations already in place, and they are business critical integrations. This is not something that we're just asking for to avoid work. These are critical apps, and having this information correct is also a critical part of the business. So that's the reason for this request.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and prompt the vote. Orange smells good.
Although avoiding work.
I like all the acronyms.
Although avoiding work is an one thing.
Working more effectively.
That's
There you
right.
go.
Work more efficiently. That's what
That's
I tell
right.
everyone.
We're smart.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you,
Motion
Commissioners.
carries. Thank you, Mr. Tim.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, next up, item 8F, sponsorship of the Rochester Fire and Ice Festival. Commissioner McGilvery,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
supported by Commissioner Long. This is your baby, right?
Yep. This is the Fire and Ice Festival that they have in Rochester annually. They've missed the last 2 years, and for that reason, they were a little bit short raising money to continue it this year. The date for this year is January 20th and 21st. That's in downtown Rochester. It'll benefit, this will be coming out of the board's special fund. And this is hopefully the only time, so.
Okay.
Yeah, they normally raise funds.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Let's prompt the vote.
It's a great event.
I guess I do have a comment, which is, I'm fully in support of it. It seems like a worthwhile event, but it does sound like it falls on King weekend, if you will, and just making acknowledgements of that.
Good point.
Weekend?
I think it's probably MLK
His
weekend.
birthday's the 18th.
Well, sure. I mean, you got the day off.
Commissioner
Be
Kowal.
a day on.
I right.
It's justice.
Not to
Yeah, exactly.
nitpick, but I think the county has sponsored this before.
Yes,
Maybe
we
they
have.
haven't as of recently, but I think
Right.
I
He
think
said
we
the
have
last couple of
fairly-
years, they didn't.
fairly regularly we
They didn't have
have.
a festival at all, but
Yeah, we gave some money, I
previous to
think.
that, the
Yeah.
Parks is very
Parks.
much involved. They
Okay.
help set up a lot of them, put up the tents and all that stuff, so.
Okay.
Downtown Rochester's cool.
Yeah,
Sort of
Are
like
you-
kite festival out there in
Right.
South Line.
right.
Commissioner Cavell.
Can I ask then, Commissioner Charles, you bring that up, it makes me wonder, is there like some sort of recognition of the holiday? I know that it might mean more people will show up, but would there be something?
I wasn't including that because I don't live in Rochester.
Sure.
But I
Well,
will.
I am. You made me think of something. Which
Oh,
was that? So
well.
I got you.
All right. So
Do you
I'll
know
land
that?
it there.
I believe this is all planned by the Downtown Rochester Group. They're the ones that pretty much set it all up, and they did it as an economic development to try to build business in the community. So I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Take an answer.
All right. Anybody have any more questions? Let's prompt the vote, please.
You guys want to know a fun fact about MLK Day?
Sure.
John Conyers introduced the first MLK Day resolution like 10 days after MLK was killed in 1968, and it didn't get passed until 1986. And there are still cities and locations in America that sue to not recognize it.
When I lived in Arizona, they didn't recognize
There you
it.
go.
Yeah.
That's
Was
why
it
I
in
asked
the
about the
80s?
Rochester thing, because some towns don't do that.
Yeah, it was a big controversy in the governor's race one year in Arizona about whether we should have it or not.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee recommendations, item 9A, with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Spark Grant Program for the Catalpa Oaks Health and Wellness Parks Improvement Project. Need a motion? Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner McGilvery. Anybody want to talk about this one?
I can, Madam Chair, if that's okay.
Hi there, Chris. How are you, Mr. Ward?
Good, good.
Long time no
Good to
see.
see you all.
We miss you. I mean, we
No.
like Patty too, but we miss you.
All right, well, Patty is wonderful. I'm happy to be just across the street. Appreciate your consideration of this item. It is a grant that Oakland County Parks and Recreation has applied for. The state has funneled their ARPA Parks money through this grant program, and there will be 3 rounds of grant application available. We are applying for $450,000 to support the park improvement projects that were previously discussed when the board considered our ARPA plan at Catalpa Oaks Park. So includes a pickleball court, a basketball court, some flexible gathering and exercise space. Requires a $50,000 match if we're successful. If we are successful, it will free up some money within the plan that you've already approved for us to address other priorities. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
We always like leveraging money.
We need you to show us how to play pickleball, right?
Thank you. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Yeah.
Seeing none, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Pickleball.
Do you play pickleball, Chris?
I don't know how, I've never seen it played yet. We just
Oh,
got-
really?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you saying there.
Is there a,
Yeah, she said that one time,
there's a Sans
pickleball.
Close
My
version of
my
it?
brother-in-law was like national champion for a while.
What is pickleball?
I don't know what it is.
There's a guy in Novi that is like way high up in
Yeah.
pickleball
Yeah.
Hasn't done it for a
competitions.
couple of years now. David Sabino.
It's like the fastest growing sport, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Because all the
I've
boomers
thought
can
about
That's
it,
right.
but I-
give up tennis
I
and
don't
can
do
play
that.
pickleball. It's true.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, you have 7
Seriously,
yeas, don't you?
swimmer.
All right, motion carries. Thanks very much, everybody. She's good.
I can't get in the
It's already
pool with
gone.
this for a week.
All right, no,
Bloody hell.
get back. I
I'll be
did
like
something stupid.
pudding when I do get in.
Go away. Okay, I got it. All right, item 10, Public Health and Safety Committee
3 days
recommendations.
to get back up.
The item 10A, from the Michigan Department of Corrections of the fiscal year 2023 Community Corrections Funds. Motion by Commissioner Cavell, supported by Commissioner Charles. Good afternoon.
Hi, I'm Eric Schmidt. I'm the manager with Community Corrections. And before you is a grant we're looking to have accepted. We applied for this in the spring, obviously due in May. And it is a continuation budget of just over $2 million that will fund roughly 13 special revenue positions, 1 part-time non-eligible position, also 2 positions within the Sheriff Department where they provide services under the grant. That used to be 3 positions, but we've moved it to 1, so there was a change there. We were able to do that this past year through attrition, so we handled that without having to have a layoff. But we've received this grant since 1995. It's obviously a key part of our operations and the things that we do in-house.
Okay. I'll open it up to the commission. Any questions or comments?
We like getting money.
Keep bringing that money. All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Gilvray? Oh. Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, item 10B, number 1 from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to the FY 2023 Local Health Department Emerging Threats Agreement. Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner Cavell. I see we have Leanne Stafford with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. So this is a little bit of a different ask. Actually, MHHS has decreased our funding for COVID immunizations. So they've reduced our funding from just under 11 million to just over 6 million. So it's like a $4 million, $4.5 million decrease. Most of this is focused around COVID immunizations. And so I know yesterday I got a question, does this impact any of the positions? And the answer is no. We use for really our external immunization services, if we're doing community activities, we're really using Intech staff. So we'll just be looking at cutting back some of that staff and doing the majority of the work externally staff. So we are hearing some of this money might come back, but at this time they've decreased that money.
Well, that's not good news. Does anybody have any questions, comments for Leanne? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
I do know what you're saying. Look, I've been saying it for almost a year,
Yeah.
so I do know what you're saying.
I keep getting double vote. I don't like that decrease.
Double vote, that's fine.
Oh, look at him off.
Tell me how I can
The
double
screen.
vote.
I'm off my screen now.
Oh, you broke it.
How we doing?
I think they got my vote.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Next up, item 10C, from the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the program year 2022 Annual Action Plan. Moved by Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner Cavell. Okay. Do you have this
I'm
one?
actually going to take this one as well.
Okay.
And I also have Monique Guerrero with me, which is also at Housing, so she's going to help answer any programmatic questions with this. Unfortunately, Shane wasn't able to join us this afternoon. So this first request is to accept our consolidated a plan. This has already been approved by you and HUD. And so basically what we're accepting is a little over $11 million for the majority of our services. And this actually helps continue to pay for or fund our staffing that is part of housing. So there's 20 positions that are connected to this, and is part of the 22 acceptance plan.
Okay. $11 million. Who, does anybody have any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Seeing none, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
That was that? They're good. All right, here we go. It's back.
They're not county employees.
Thank you.
We pay them more when they dress up.
Yeah.
That is true. Costs a lot more.
Moss?
You're having too much fun, Mr. Moss.
I am.
Commissioner.
such thing.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. All right, next up, we have item 10D, Health and Human Services Neighborhood and Housing Development Grant Application with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Developments for the FY 2021 Home Investment Partnership American Rescue Plan, Home-ARP Program. Moved by Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner Cavell. Okay.
Okay, so this is the request to approve our submission of the home ARP allocation plan. It is not to accept additional funding. It's just so that we can submit this plan. Once it is accepted by HUD, we will be bringing this plan back to you for final approval or the acceptance of the funds. So this request is only to submit our plan to HUD.
Okay. Commissioner Cavell.
Yeah, I just want to say that if you all looked at the documentation of this, it's a very well written thing. Good job, Monique, Leanne, and Shane, and everybody. It lifts up some really important data points that I just want to make sure everyone's aware of. That there will be roughly 1,200 people sleeping rough, so literally homeless, like outside under bridges, not living in cars or doubled up with like friends, but outside. And there are something like 172 shelter beds in Oakland County for those 1,200 individuals. And that doesn't even speak to the fact that we had that CERA program for a year and a half that helped 17,000 households stay out of eviction, and that came to an end September 30th. So in just this last 1 month, this last 30 days, in just 3 towns, Pontiac, Southfield, and Oak Park in Oakland County, 953 families have been evicted, and that's just the beginning. So whatever you're doing, we should give you more of it because we appreciate you.
Is that 1,200 in Oakland County?
Mm-hmm. And those 17,000 were in Oakland County.
Okay. So let's go ahead and prompt the vote. Happy note.
Start co-oping groceries. Sure. Seems like there's something going on at the state level, too.
I sure hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
I
think so,
saw
too.
something,
Yeah.
Cool.
There has to
Maybe
be.
all the celery.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna co-op. Share it.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries. And that completes item 10,
Thank
the
you.
Public Health and Safety Committee recommendations. Thank you, Leanne and Monique. Thank you.
I could listen to Leanne all day.
I know.
Listen to Leanne all day.
I do too.
I know, I love her.
Friendly Southern voice.
All right. Next up is our last regular item on the agenda, and there is a possible closed session. It is the settlement of Bowles versus Oakland County and Dover Glen Condominium Association versus Oakland County. And we would need to go into closed session if any of the commission members have questions about what it is we're doing. And if you want to go into closed session, we will need a motion to do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you choose to discuss something.
So Commissioner Moss is moving to go into closed session. Commissioner McGilvery is seconding. Let's prompt the vote. And then everybody that's in here can stay here, I think. No, I think Ajay can't stay.
Sorry, Ajay. Next month. Next month.
Ajay, you'll have to step out.
Commissioner Markham?
Yes.
This is just Michael again. You can confirm with Corporation Counsel, but I believe you as the chair and the committee members will have the discretion on who's able to stay in the room.
Oh.
But you could certainly check with counsel.
That's right.
Don't get me going.
Solon's okay? All right.
Get me going.
That being the case, you may stay.
I don't know if I want.
Don't pull a Bob.
And I don't know if I'd do that with Bob. Remember Bob? We made him get out.
Oh, we did make him get out.
Yeah.
No, we let him stay.
No,
That's how he
Not the
knew.
last time.
We let him stay once, and then we kicked him out the next time, so.
Yeah.
But he had his chance. I think he had his chance. Ajay should get a chance. Everyone gets one chance.
I think it should be consistent because that was
let's
a big
be-
issue.
I think we need
Well, we let
consistent.
Bob stay once.
But then you.
That was a mistake.
That's all right. You'll be sitting at the big table in a month, and then you can stay. Don't worry about it.
All right, I'm still waiting for
Yeah, he's elect. He's elect. So he'll be here. He'll be here.
Okay, you guys got to vote.
I voted.
Kowal and Long,
And Markham.
need you to
Give him
vote.
time to put the
Oh.
on-air off.
Wait, you letting Walt stay here? Hold on.
Well,
we got?
we gotta do, once the vote comes in, then they can turn the cameras off.
Yeah.
So Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
that we've announced the
Well, I
vote.
just wanted to say that one because I thought we should stay
Bring it
consistent.
I'm glad you did, because I had kind of
Closed
forgotten
session.
about that, and it was sort of an ugly moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
I think you have an
ugly.
finance member coming.
Yeah, he's not on the committee.
Let me message.
Because
Closed session, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Closed session.
Because he wanted to be able to tell everybody
he
what had
did go
happened.
tell us.
That's what
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Totally did.
because he wanted to come and listen and then tell everybody.
He did.
Of course you couldn't keep him.
He did, and so then we made it our policy that we're not going to do that
Because
anymore.
we never did that before,
Right.
Yeah, well, we should.
ever.
Live and learn.
I mean, I guess some things can change over those He's a nice man. I never saw him get mad.
Vince Gray was awesome.
Yeah, I never saw him
see
get
that.
angry at anything.
Yolanda?
From her church, I think.
I want an 8 by 10 glossy thing of me when I die.
I see pictures like,
Yeah, the picture looks nice on there.
When did they have this? I heard he passed away, but
Right.
services was.
Yeah, I think it's at the church she goes to, maybe. It's put together by the church.
He
Yeah.
was always a nice guy.
Yep. I don't think I ever saw him mad at anything.
Yeah, closed session in here.
Well, they did get mad that one time about Parks and Rec. Remember when his wife came and spoke in public and everything? Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when he was,
Yeah.
but that's about the only time.
Yeah. Didn't he have a yellow Corvette? I think he did for a while. Yellow Corvette, and it was like a older one. It was cool. They
All
never
right.
leave. You don't rent.
Let's get this show on the road
All
here.
right. Let's get
Okay, so I need a motion to accept the recommendations that we made in closed session.
We'll be moving the resolution.
Okay, we're moving,
Sending the resolution to the board. Happy to.
All right, thanks.
okay,
Probably call you.
I'll make that motion.
okay. Commissioner McGilvery, supported by Commissioner Cavell. Yep, let's go ahead and prompt the vote. I'm assuming everybody got their questions answered
Yeah.
before we open the doors. Okay. We're voting on the resolution on the settlement of Bowles versus Oakland County and Dover Glen Condominium Association versus Oakland County. I think that's the biggest vote I've ever taken. That's big.
Yes.
Pretty big number.
Is that from your church?
Okay, Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas or nays?
Yeah.
Excellent, motion carries. We're all happy to get this one off the docket. Okay, before we go to public comment, well, let me open it up for public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to address the board? Seeing no one, I will close public comment. I am going to ask Mr. Jen to come to the table and talk to us under other business before we adjourn. So.
All right, thank
floor
you,
is
Madam
yours.
Chair.
It's sort of like Festivus.
I wanted
Right.
to speak to an item you might have been expecting on the agenda, which is not on the agenda today, which is the year-end report, which is the preliminary analysis of where we closed out the previous fiscal year in terms of impact on fund balance and a resolution that makes any final adjustments that have to be made to get the FY 2022 budget in balance before we close the books and enter the audit phase. Unfortunately, it's taken slightly longer to complete that report this year than previous years. That's partly because it's the first year that we're doing it in a new financial system with financials that crossed over 2 systems in 1 year, and also the loss of some of our institutional knowledge. So we are very close. We were hoping it would be done in time to get it to you, ahead of this meeting and give you, at least a day to review, and we didn't quite get there. The team is back at the office still today, working hard to reconcile the last few dollars. So I think we'll need to call a special meeting that I think the staff and the chair are working on next week. So I'd like to say that the actual reason is we didn't want this to be
You
the
want us to
final
have one more
meeting
meeting.
for Commissioners Moss and Kowal.
Yes, it is.
I appreciate this.
I should note, also, you're probably aware or may have noticed, we did not produce a third quarter forecast, and that was because of these same reasons. So we have gone back, and any adjustments that would have been made in the third quarter forecast will be included in the year-end report, and certainly we'll get back on the regular quarterly schedule, as we go into next year. So,
You want it before the next board meeting, though, correct?
correct.
I hope so.
That's what I'm saying, 'cause that's our last one.
Because that's the only way we can.
Right,
Better to do it right than do it quick.
yeah.
Sure.
Well, and that's the conversation Kyle and I had
Right.
last evening was,
Sounds
did we
nice.
want him to
Cool.
dump it in and scramble? No, just get the work done. Let's have a separate meeting to kind of review it if we have questions and so on. Okay. How many of you are available next Wednesday afternoon? We're looking at either noon or 3 o'clock.
Noon would be better because we have parks.
Oh, you have parks next Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. It's Wednesday, yeah.
15th?
No way.
No, the 7th.
No, yeah, you're,
Seventh.
what are you doing? You're making me crazy.
Yeah, no,
I mean, it's Christmas present.
It's the 7th.
Yeah, noon would be better for me if
Wednesday the
that,
7th.
if I
Yeah,
had
I
my
can do
druthers.
that, sure.
Noon, and then our meeting's at 1?
I don't know.
Right.
Probably at 2.
Is it at 2 now?
But then they have.
What's it
the-
to?
Our parks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
noon, because then
So it'd
3
be
we wouldn't be,
noon?
well, we could be, but we.
I think, yeah.
Just in
I think
case,
so.
yeah.
We'll go back and tell staff that, raise your hand if you could do noon.
How long you think?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
very
7. That's enough for a quorum
minutes.
anyway.
30 minutes?
Probably 30 minutes, maybe?
What's the date of that, the sub,
Yeah.
what is that, the 7th?
Just
Don't jinx
depending on
myself
questions.
is right.
I'm a maybe.
Wednesday, the 7th.
I'm gonna just
Seven?
What do they say, brevity has its place.
That's
Right.
right.
It's okay.
Finance.
We'll have a
Is that okay
quorum,
with you, or
Angela.
should
Yeah,
we-
well,
Yeah,
I'm fine,
noon.
it's majority, I'm good.
Yeah, we'll have a
Everybody
quorum,
else
so
here?
that's good. Okay,
I ain't crazy like that, I'm all right.
all right.
All right, thank you for your
Thank you,
time
Kyle.
and patience.
Wednesday, all right.
And then before
When's our
we
board meeting?
adjourn,
That night
I
too?
just want to recognize today that it's the 1-year anniversary of Oxford.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And, so maybe if we could just have a little moment of silence. Okay, thank you, everybody. And I just want to recognize again Commissioner Kowal and Commissioner Moss for their contributions to the Finance Committee. And I guess we do have one more meeting we get to
I guess
have
so,
over
yeah.
you, so.
You get 2, yay, 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 you get 2, another round.
Now they got that out of the way early, so.
And with that, if there's no other business to come before the Finance Committee, we're adjourned at 4:30.
Oh, it's a Thursday.
Thursday morning.
Oh.